What's up, gamers? Frankie, Ailor, and Bender Holt here from shortpause.com, and today we're going to bring you guys a very special Spoilercast. Bender and I got to sit down and play through Life is Strange. Bender, I got to ask, what was your drawing point to this game? Like, what sold you on needing to sit down and play through this?
Honestly, Frankie, it was you. It was your endorsement. You told me all about how it had a good story and you had time manipulation mechanics, and I was like, that sounds pretty cool. So I started playing it, and it really drew me in, and I just loved it from the first episode all the way to the end. I really enjoyed this game. It was awesome.
Yeah, this actually graced my top 5 list for last year. It blew me away. I'm glad I waited because, this came out episodically, and this would have driven me nuts waiting months between episodes. But, yeah, so for those of you listening, we are going to talk in depth about the story, so if you have an interest in this game and you haven't played it yet, I recommend you turn this off and get out of here.
Yes. Yeah, there was some, yes, this game is very narrative focused, so you definitely don't want anything spoiled. If you have any interest in playing this game at some point, yeah, you'll definitely want to go play it before you listen to this.
Yes, absolutely. Alright, so without further ado, let's jump into the first episode. So this episode, we're basically introduced to Max Caulfield. She is a photography student going to Blackwell Academy. She's there because she's a big fan of Mr. Jefferson's work. He's a renowned photographer. So she just seems like an average, run-of-the-mill student. Nothing super special about her or anything. So, one day after class, she goes to the bathroom. I think she took a picture of a butterfly, right?
Yeah.
It all starts with a butterfly. And, the next thing you know, this blue-haired girl and a drug dealer are in the bathroom fighting, and she gets shot. And Max reacts. She just simply puts her hand up, and the next thing she knew, time froze. She was back in class. So, this whole episode is just basically her coming to terms that suddenly she has these powers that she doesn't understand at all. What happened from there? So she went back. You replayed the classroom scene a couple times, right?
Yes. Yeah. So. Yeah, she sees that thing in the bathroom. She wakes up back in the classroom, and it's the exact same situation that just happened. Her teacher, Mark Jefferson, is giving the exact same speech. The exact same things happened, but now she's able to anticipate what happened. One of the other students, Victoria, had answered the question that Mr. Jefferson had asked before. But this time, Max is able to give the correct answer, which she couldn't before, because now she already heard the correct answer. So she realizes she's able to anticipate what's going to happen because she's experienced it before. So she goes back to the bathroom, and the same thing happens, and this time she's able to save the blue-haired girl from being killed.
Right, and then I think shortly after that you run into the principal, and you're given your first big option of the game. You can either report him or act like nothing happened. I ended up reporting him. I don't know if you did the same thing.
Yeah, I did. I ended up reporting. The student's name is Nathan Prescott. He's the one who was wielding the gun. He's the one who had killed the girl in the previous timeline before you saved her. But yeah, you report this kid, and the principal doesn't really believe you. He thinks you're making stuff up because this kid Nathan is very influential in the town. His family basically owns the town. They're very rich.
Yes.
So the principal doesn't really believe you, but yeah, that was my choice as well, to try to report him.
Yeah, I remember that being one of the things the principal's talking about. He goes, "You do realize who you're talking about and the things that you're saying. I can't. You know what I mean? This would need to really be looked into. So you really need to think about what you're telling me." So he ultimately shrugs it off, and so. Where do we go from there? We end up going back to our dorm room, I believe.
Yeah.
So you're faced with one of your first puzzles of the game, where there's a classmate you have, Victoria. She's the typical snooty, privileged, just jerk.
Yeah, she's one of the plastics from Mean Girls, basically.
Exactly. So she's sitting on the steps with her posse of friends, and they basically tell you to buzz off when you try to go inside. So you need to find a way to get them to move. So you end up spilling paint all over her. Of course, she's upset, because she's wearing this wonderful new sweater. So we then come across our second choice of the episode, where you can either make fun of her or you can kind of comfort her. This coming after she had finished making fun of you. She took this picture of you, and she's basically sitting there making fun of you, just how you look, and so she gets paint spilled all over her, and then you kind of get an option to take revenge or not. Bender, what'd you do?
I made fun of her. Yeah, Max snaps a picture of her and just totally mocks her, and yeah, that's apparently the lesser popular choice, because it gives you the stats at the end of the episode, and I was in the 32 percentile of people who made fun of her rather than comforting her.
Yep, I'm right there with you. So you basically go up to your dorm room, you head back out, and it's there we're introduced to the security guard on campus, David. And he just comes off as this really paranoid, kind of power-hungry type of guy. Throughout the episode, he's actually trying to have security cameras put up everywhere on campus. I think there was a teacher going around trying to get petitions to stop him from getting these cameras installed everywhere. I don't know if you want to talk about her, but that was Mrs. Grant. I think she's the science teacher. Do you want to dip into that one really quick with her petition?
Yeah, you walk outside the school and Mrs. Grant has this petition. She's trying to stop David Mattson from putting up these security cameras everywhere, because she's worried about the privacy of all the students. So you can choose to sign the petition or not, and I chose not to sign it. But then, as we'll get into, later on, I kind of wish that I had, because things you see the effects of some of these choices as you go on through the game, and so I didn't sign the petition, but later on I was like, maybe I should have signed it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to touching on that, because I actually signed it. But so after you go through that, you go around the corner, and like I said, you run into Mattson, and he is harassing this student named Kate. Kate is this extremely religious woman, and you don't really know why he's harassing her. You just kind of see it happening, so you're presented yet another option where you can either take a picture of it to kind of keep in case you're ever going to need it again, or you can butt in and tell him to leave her alone. I think you had one encounter with her prior to this, but this is just kind of like all these different situations where you're encountering these characters and really getting a chance to kind of start either building a relationship that carries on throughout the game, or kind of ending them. But what did you end up doing with this one?
Well, first a word on Kate. I mean, from the moment you meet her, I mean, she's the girl that everybody's picking on all the time, and you can tell that she's very depressed from the moment you talk to her. The first time you talk to her, you feel bad for her, because she just nothing seems to be going her way. So when you see her, being harassed by this security guard, actually the first choice I made, and this is one of the cool things about this game, is that you can, if you don't like the way a choice plays out in the short term, you can actually rewind time and make the opposite choice. So I actually took a photo of him first of all, and then after you take the photo, he comes up and says something to you, and he walks away, and then Kate looks at you and she gets mad at you. She's like, oh well, thanks for not stepping in and doing anything about it, and she walks away. So I was like, I don't want her to be mad at me. She's already been through enough. So I rewound time and I went ahead and intervened that time, and then that's the decision I decided to stick with.
Okay, I didn't even do that. I just took the picture and didn't even rewind time.
Really?
So, yeah.
For a lot of these decisions, I went ahead and rewound time just to see how it would play out, and then I would go back and make my final decision.
Right. I wish I'd done that with some of these, this being one of them, but we'll talk about that later, because this actually does come back to either haunt you or help you out a little later on. So, going from there, I believe you are hanging out in the parking lot with a boy named Warren, who clearly has the hots for Max, but she doesn't quite feel the same way. At least my Max didn't. But it's also here where Nathan, I don't, did you tell the principal, right?
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he comes out to the parking lot and confronts you about it. And Warren basically kind of steps up and starts trying to, defend your honor, ends up getting pummeled. And it's at this moment that the blue-haired girl makes her return, pulls up in her pickup truck, and you hop in. And apparently her name is Chloe, and you guys are childhood best friends.
Yeah.
Small world, right?
Yeah, Max and Chloe were apparently very good friends when Max lived in Arcadia Bay when she was younger, but she moved to Seattle for a while and then moved back so she could go to this college here at Blackwell. And this is the first time they've actually seen each other, and Max didn't even recognize Chloe when she saw her get shot in the bathroom. So now she realizes this is the Chloe that she grew up with.
Right. So you basically head back to the house, and you are trying to sit down, catch up with Chloe, learn a little bit about her, learn that she's become quite the rebel since you last spoke with her. You learn their friendship is kind of frayed because Max kind of went off to school and more or less did a really bad job of keeping in touch with Chloe, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So in this instance, though, David gets home, so you find out that David is actually Chloe's stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? Small world. But he comes upstairs because Chloe is she's blasting music and smoking pot, I think.
Yeah.
So he comes up to confront her, and Chloe's like, "You need to hide. He can't know that you're here." So you hop in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, that's where I'd go to.
Yeah.
But here you're given several options actually. This one you can basically kind of come out and confront him, I guess. And you can take the blame for Chloe, you can blame her. I ended up staying hidden personally, so I don't know what those other options would have done, but Bender, what about you?
Yeah, I actually did too. What happens is this is kind of a puzzle, a quick reaction time type of puzzle thing that happens when you try to get into the closet, but then something falls over and it blocks the way. So you have to rewind time to prevent it from blocking the way, so you can get into the closet. If you don't do that, if you don't do it in time, David will bust in and he'll see you in there, and then you'll have to either take the blame for the pot or not. Or if you get into the closet, then you're presented with the option of busting out and taking the blame or staying hidden. So I ended up getting in the closet and staying hidden, and I did not take the blame. So sounds like you made the same decision.
Yeah. So ultimately, David ends up smacking Chloe in the face and disappearing. So it's at this point, Max and Chloe go downstairs and they're trying to do a little recon on David. I'm pretty sure Max is telling Chloe about his plans to add security cameras all over the school.
Mm-hmm.
So it's at this point you find all these weird files he has like on Kate, and you also kind of, is it here where you start to find out about this missing girl, Rachel Amber?
Yeah, well, you can find there's hints about her from the beginning because there's like flyers all over the school and everything showing missing person flyers and everything, which you later find out that Chloe was the one who put all those up. But yeah, I think this is where you do find out a little bit more about her and who she was and everything.
Yeah, so for these, like, you can kind of go through there, poke around, try and cover up your tracks, but ultimately you get access to some files that she gets to read and find out kind of what he's trying to do with Kate. I don't think you're actually like given that information. It's just you can go through, you can read it or not read it, basically.
Yeah, and there's ways for you to do it without leaving any evidence that you were there, or there's he might be able to find out later on. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was at the end of the episode, but I think it was actually the beginning of it. But like this whole thing starts because Max is having this weird dream where she's standing in the middle of the woods. There's this giant rainstorm,
Yeah, that's right. That is near we forgot about that. That's a lot. That's close to the beginning of the episode when it first starts out.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, she has this vision. I think that's the first thing. There's the first
It
scene
is,
in the game.
because then she wakes up in the middle of class.
Yeah, then she wakes up in class. Yeah, so Max has this vision that she sees this huge tornado coming towards the town of Arcadia Bay, and she's at the lighthouse that overlooks where that tornado is going to be, and she doesn't know what that vision means, but yeah, that's the first thing in the game. Yeah.
Oops. For some reason, I thought that was at the end of this, but I don't remember exactly how episode 1 ended up wrapping up from there, because I thought that was the end. But you do some recon on Kate, and basically you're reunited with Chloe. You guys just kind of have this damaged relationship. I also think it was in this episode that you learn that Chloe and Rachel Amber were friends.
Yeah,
because there's like a box in a room and there's a bunch of pictures. Yeah,
and you talk to Chloe about it, and she kind of starts telling you about Rachel Amber and how they were best friends, and Rachel basically picked up where Max left off when Max moved away, and became Chloe's best friend and everything, and now she's missing and nobody knows what happened to her. So
yeah, and apparently the only person that cares enough to try to find her is Chloe. So I think that's how that episode ended. Was you guys are driving away with like a very clear tension between the two of you in the pickup truck.
Yeah, pretty much.
So episode 2, let's see what we got here. So this picks up with Kate's being harassed because there's this video of her that I guess hit the internet. I don't really understand what it was. It sounded like it was just her at some party.
Yeah, like apparently there's this group of popular kids at Blackwell called the Vortex Club, and they invited Kate to one of their parties, and they took a video of her. I guess she was drugged, and they took a video of her being all wild and making out with a bunch of guys and drinking and all the stuff that her parents would very highly disapprove of. And then they posted the video on the internet, and kind of destroyed her life and her relationship with her family, and that's when the depression for her really starts setting in, because she just feels like she has no hope from there. But Max tries to be her friend. She tries to be the one who, if no one else will stick up for her, that she'll try to be the one. And you have this decision to tell Kate either to go to the police or to wait for more proof. Because you tell her that. That's what I decided to do. I told her to wait for more. She's like, I'm gathering more proof about Nathan. I know Nathan is behind this, so just wait and don't go to the police just yet, and whatever. So I don't know if that's what you decided to do or not.
Yeah, it is. She of course gets really upset with you about that. She feels like you're kind of betraying her by not going to the police now, but you try explaining to her that Nathan and his family pretty much own this town, so from there, you're kind of going around the school, and, Victoria and her goonies are, like writing the link to this video on a mirror in the bathroom and all kinds of stuff, just trying to really destroy Kate's image. So it's kind of from there that, you kind of learn about one of Victoria's friends, Taylor. Her mom she's in the hospital. I don't think she's doing all that well. So you kind of get to know her a little bit, and you kind of try to get them to slowly ease off and kind of, back off of Kate a little bit, because it's very clear that this is really bothering her. So what did you do with the link in the bathroom? Did you end up leaving it there, or?
No, I erased it.
Yeah, okay.
Anything surrounding Kate, I was trying to help Kate out through the whole time, because I felt so bad for her, and I was like, God. It's funny because we'll get into it later, but I was like the whole episode from day one, I was like, this girl's gonna kill herself if I don't tell. If I'm not the one who's nice to her, she's either gonna kill herself or come in and shoot up the school, or something's bad's gonna happen with this girl. I just know it. So anything, when I saw that link that Victoria had written on the bathroom mirror, I was like, I'm erasing that. She's been through enough. I'm gonna help Kate out as much as I can.
Right. All right. So after that, you go back to hanging out with Chloe. I think she picks you up at school, and so you're kind of out hanging out with her, and I think it's at some point here you tell her about your powers. And, you end up getting a phone call from Kate while you're sitting there talking to her, and Chloe seems like she has trust issues with people, obviously. So, the phone rings and, she's kind of giving you a hard time about answering it. And, I don't know about you because this was another major choice, but, I ended up picking up the phone for Kate because, she's going through a lot with all this stuff and you want to keep trying to reassure her. Did you answer the call as well?
I did. Again, it was Kate. I was like, I don't want to do anything that's going to make this girl, any more depressed than she already is. So I'm going to talk to her.
Yeah. So it seems like no matter what you do in this game, just trying to do the right thing always upsets somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I ended up answering the phone. Then Chloe gets kind of upset with you. Eventually she kind of mentions like, I guess it was good that you talked to her and. But you end up heading out into the woods with Chloe, and you're kind of testing out your rewinding abilities. So basically, like, you'd gone to the diner and explained to Chloe that you have these powers, and to test you, she asked you. Well, she lays everything out of her pockets, and this is another one of those puzzles where you have to remember everything that you're looking at on the screen. So, like, down to the amount of change she has, the keychain on her keys. How many cigarettes she has in her pack of cigarettes. So she lays all the stuff in her pockets out and basically asks you, okay, like, what's in here? Puts them back in her pockets or something. You rewind time to before this whole thing happened, and you tell her everything that's in her pockets, and then she puts everything out and then, slowly starts to believe you. So you head out to the woods so that you can kind of hone your skills.
Before you go on. Yeah, so that was the first test that Chloe gave you to test out your powers, but then there's another thing that I thought was really cool. So you're in this diner where Chloe's mom works, and she tells you, okay, well, tell me what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. So you have to wait for 5 minutes and just watch everything that happens in the diner, and then you have to rewind time and explain to Chloe as it's happening what's about to happen. So she's like, okay, your mom's about to drop a plate and she drops a plate, and she's like, okay, these two guys are about to get into a fight. Okay, a cockroach is going to land on the jukebox and just make the song skip. So all this stuff that you have to predict. I thought that was a really cool mechanic, and then that's one of the things that really solidifies it for Chloe, that she believes that you have this power.
That's right. I forgot all about that. I thought, like I said, there's a lot of moments in this game that I kind of think happened later than they actually did. But yeah, that was funny because the one cop, he's talking about his buddy or something, and I think he took off with the car or something. It's like,
yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah. His partner gets a call in, and he leaves him behind. He's like, wait, where are you going? That's right. Yeah. So that was awesome.
Yeah. So as you guys are heading over there, I think it's at this point you kind of learn more about Rachel Amber. Chloe starts to understand more about the type of person that, Chloe tells you that she was. So you understand her personality and why her and Chloe were so close. So you're out in the woods, and you have to collect a bunch of glass bottles to line up to shoot. But you only have so many bullets in the gun, and Chloe's basically trying to find ways to have you manipulate things in the environment to either. Do you remember this more in particular?
Yeah. So she wants to not just shoot the bottle. Well, the first couple of bottles, you have to tell her where to aim. So you watch her shoot, and she shoots a little bit low. So you have to rewind time and be like, aim a little bit higher. So she nails the first bottle. Then she shoots a little bit to the left. You're like, aim a little bit to the right, and she nails the second bottle. She's like, okay, now let's do something fancy. So you have to figure out what she was like. Give me another target to shoot at. So you have to choose a target that will make the bullet ricochet off and hit one of the bottles. So you have to figure out which target it is, and it turns out to be like a hubcap on the left side or something like that. And then for the final one, she's like, okay, she's like, maybe you can shoot at that car. And then, well, where on the car should I shoot? So you have to choose like the windshield or the headlights or whatever. But if you tell her to shoot the tire, the car like rolls off and like lands on all the bottles and like flips over. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a cool scene.
Adios, spinning wheel of death. Uber cool. I cannot believe this is for reals. My best friend is a superhero.
Yeah, so while you're here doing all of this, this thug kind of emerges from behind you. His name is Frank. But you find out he's a super sketchy guy, and it appears that Chloe has some money problems with this guy. She seems like she's borrowed a lot of money, or weed. Really knows.
Yeah.
But he's sitting here harassing you, and you're given yet another option because you have a gun. So you're sitting here, doing all this stuff. So he kind of pulls a knife on her, right? He pulls a knife on Chloe. So Max, just out of self-defense, just holds up the gun, and he's like, "Oh, go ahead, shoot me." So you're presented yet another option. Did you try to shoot him?
I did not. Well, this was one that I went back to see both ways. I didn't, and then I went back and I saw what happened if you tried to shoot him and the gun, there's no bullet or something, and you don't actually shoot him. But I ended up not trying to shoot him anyway. But he ends up taking the gun. Then I was like, I kind of wanted to go back and be like, I'd rather keep the gun, but nah, it's all right, whatever. So I said I didn't try to shoot him.
No, I totally tried to shoot him. I think he's like momentarily impressed, like, "Oh, you got some balls."
Yeah.
But, yeah, he ultimately, backs off from Chloe, but
you got some serious lady balls. I think he says that a few times throughout the game.
Yeah, he does. But he basically he lays off of Chloe, and you guys just kind of sit and hang out a little more, and just kind of relaxing on the train tracks, and as you guys are walking away, there's a train approaching, and the track closes. So Chloe's foot gets stuck in the tracks. So you're presented yet another option, which I didn't even know, honestly, that there were multiple ways to do this. You can tamper with the tracks somehow, or there's just like a switch or something you can push on the tracks to stop the train.
Yeah, I didn't tamper with the tracks. I went and found like a wire cutters, and I had to open up the junction box, and I clipped the wire, and that made the track switch so she could get out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it meant by tampering with the tracks, but that was one of the other options, I guess.
Yeah, I did that. So that was yet another close call for Chloe, which seems to be a growing theme. Yeah. So from there, you're basically back at school, and Warren, you run across Warren yet again, and he's in there basically trying to study for one of his science tests, and you're able to help him, and you can if you want to. I helped him. I don't know why. I don't like Warren.
Well, it did present an opportunity for you to get one of the optional photos, which we haven't really touched on yet. Throughout each episode, there's these optional photos you can take, and there's trophies for each one. And so some of them you can just walk up to something and take a photo, and it's pretty easy. But some of them you have to do specific things in order to set up the photo opportunity. And this was one of those things. Like Warren's trying to do the science experiment, and you talk to him, and he asks you for a suggestion on what chemicals to mix, and you don't really know until you can go back to the science teacher and talk to her and find out the right combination. You go back and you have to rewind time, talk to Warren again, and then tell him the right thing, and then once you get it right, you can take a photo. So this is one of those opportunities.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations that you can have throughout this game where you learn a different piece of information. It's kind of going back to the conversation with Taylor. You learn about her mom, and you could basically rewind your conversation with her and ask her about it and make it seem like I've known about this the whole time.
Yeah.
But so this is one of those instances where you go up there, you use what you learned to go and assist somebody. That happens a lot throughout this game, actually. But going from there, though, you talk to Mr. Jefferson, who's your photo teacher, and you have the option to then kind of tell him about how David's been harassing Kate, and because you're really worried about her at this point. Did you end up talking to him about her?
Yeah, I told Mr. Jefferson about David.
Yeah, he ultimately ends up shrugging it off. Like
pretty much.
It doesn't seem like he does anything about it. So, once you're out of class, though, there's all this commotion. You have no idea what's going on. So, you're heading back to the dorm, and everyone's kind of like panicked. You get back there, and Kate is up on the roof. Like, who would have known?
Yeah.
So this actually is one of the most unique challenges in this game. So as you're kind of making your way through, she ends up jumping, but you of course go to rewind time, and Max's nose starts bleeding. So it appears that as you're kind of going through here, pausing time to make your way up there, Max is just like, she's feeling the effects of using these powers.
Mm-hmm.
So once you finally get up to the roof, she's drained. Like, she can't do anything to stop Kate from jumping. So
yeah, she can't use her powers. She realizes she can't use her powers once she gets up to the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So now, even though she's rewound time before Kate jumps, now she has to act like really talk her down, because she cannot rewind time. She's not going to be able to stop it any other way.
Mm-hmm. And this is actually where a couple of the choices you may have made before really come back and start playing an effect with this. Like, I had hung back to take a picture and ended up using that as evidence to help build a case for her, And but she doesn't want to hear about that. She's sitting there like, well, you didn't even try to help me, and you basically need to navigate your way through all of this dialogue with her to ultimately try to talk her down from that ledge. Now, there literally, unless you want to go back and, reload your checkpoint, you can either talk her down off that ledge or she will jump, and that's it. You don't get another shot at that scene. You can't rewind time to try to stop her. Whatever happens, happens.
What are you doing here, Max? Stop! Don't come near me!
Not now. It won't work. I don't have any power. Now I have to do this by myself.
Max, seriously, don't come near me! I will jump!
Okay. I'm right here.
I ultimately ended up able to save her somehow, luckily. It's a very touchy conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of the most intense moments of the whole game, because like, you can't use your power, so it's like, if I say the wrong thing, this girl is going to die. And it's just, I was just so afraid the whole time I was going to say the wrong thing, but fortunately I was able to get through it on my first try without losing her. And one of the last choices you have to make is Max tells Kate, there's so many people who love you, you have so much to live for, and she was like, well, who loves me? And then the options are your mom, your dad, your brother, or your sisters. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, because there's a scene earlier when you're talking to her in her dorm room, and you can look around at all the stuff in her room, and there's emails on her computer from her parents after that video came out on the internet, and her parents are like, oh, we're very disappointed in you. And I'm like, her parents are kind of douchebags, so I don't think, if I say your mom or your dad, I don't think she's going to believe me. And I don't remember her having a brother, so I'm going to say her sisters. And fortunately, that was the right answer, because she was like, yeah, my sisters love me so much, you're right. And I was able to talk her down, but that was a huge relief, because I did not want to. I was like, after all this time I spent trying to help this girl out, I don't want to lose her now.
Yeah. I know that I actually, I sat down and did this, but initially when we were playing this, Jen was playing, and I don't remember what she said, but Kate ended up jumping, and Jen just got upset and left. She was like, I can't believe it. She'd like seen a walkthrough, so she kind of knew what to expect, but she got really upset when she jumped. She's like, I didn't want her to go. She's such a good character, and like she was pretty sure that she kind of had it set in stone that we can go back and save her. So I ended up going through and I did the dialogue options, and I was able to talk her down. I was surprised because there's like that conversation just in an instant. It can just, that's it, But so shortly after that, Kate gets down and she ends up getting taken to the hospital. And you find yourself, in the principal's office, surrounded by pretty much everyone that would possibly be responsible for her ending up there. So you have David, you have Nathan, and you have Mr. Jefferson. So it's in this instance where, you're basically testifying, what you say is what's ultimately going to be, used for this court case. I don't know if they ever actually go through with it or not. If they do, it doesn't really, I don't think it comes back up ever.
No, I don't think so. Not for me, it didn't anyway.
Yeah. So basically, you have the option to lay blame on any of these three people for, what happened to her, what brought her to this point. It's also at this moment where her powers do come back, so again, you can go through and check out each individual person. Who did you end up picking?
I ended up blaming David.
Oh.
Which at the end of the game, I mean, my percentage was only 14%. It looks like most people blame Nathan. I blame David, though, because he was the one who was harassing Kate and everything. Did you blame Nathan?
I blame Nathan. But I know I'm blaming David. He ends up... I don't know if he gets suspended or if he gets fired, but ultimately he is let go. Nathan, he just basically goes on, starts going on a tirade against you, like, you're going to regret this, you don't know who you're messing with, and, typical Nathan stuff. Mr. Jefferson, you kind of bring up that, well, I talked to him, Mr. Jefferson, about this, and he didn't do anything, so he knew that David was harassing her and Nathan, and he didn't do anything, so the principal ends up kind of suspending Mr. Jefferson, or I don't remember if he was suspending him or if he was telling him he can't go. One of the cruxes of this game is that Mr. Jefferson's class is having this Everyday Heroes contest. So basically, everybody in the class is in competition to submit what he sees as the best photo, and then they're flown to San Francisco, I think.
Yeah.
To basically have their own art exhibit. So, this being Mr. Jefferson's contest, this is his big thing at the school. The principal ultimately is like, well, maybe you shouldn't be on this. You shouldn't be going to this Everyday Heroes thing. So, he ultimately ends up departing the school because I'm pretty sure he gets suspended. So, which actually is kind of strange. I kind of want to go back and do that one now. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
But basically, Nathan ends up getting expelled, and at least for me, obviously you lost David as a security guard.
Yeah.
Let me just double check here how this episode ended. That was the end of the episode.
I think so.
Yeah,
Well,
it's just kind of like going around and panning around to just like the state of things at this point. Everyone's kind of just really shooken up over what Kate did. So, this episode just ended on such a sour note for me. It's just all this happening at the end. I'm just sitting here like, oh my god. Like this episode was probably like one of the most emotionally taxing gaming experiences I had in a while. Just that whole thing with Kate, man. I was like,
yeah. And again, I'm glad I didn't have to wait for weeks to play the next episode. I'm glad I was able to play them all.
yeah.
Right after each other.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we're gonna get into episode 3 here. This is the episode I think where you and Chloe were breaking into the school, which is actually kind of funny. So, this is another one of those instances where Chloe and Max, Max likes to kind of tease her with her powers when she can. So you're trying to break into the principal's office. Do you remember what you're looking for ultimately?
I think you're looking for to see if the principal has anything on Rachel, any information, on Rachel Amber or anything like that.
Oh, that's right.
Or any evidence against Nathan, I believe, because the girls are convinced that Nathan is responsible for Rachel's disappearance. So I think they're looking for any information about Rachel and any evidence against Nathan.
Right. So this is another instance where you're trying to find a way into the office as Max. So I think I don't remember if it was Max or if it was Chloe, but you go into the science room and the thing you were helping Warren with earlier, his thing was to build like a little mini explosive. Or no, you texted him.
Yeah.
He's basically like kind of all being like, oh yeah, I'm a hero, because you're basically racking his brain to well, what if I want to blow a door up or something? So he texts you, okay, well, this is what you would need, So you go into the science room and you gather these ingredients to build a little bomb to blow the door open. So once you do that, there's an alarm that goes off naturally. So
yeah,
basically Max just sort of struts into the room, rewinds time, closes the door. Meanwhile Chloe's basically sitting there trying to pick the lock and failing. So Max just casually opens the door and ta-da.
The way this happened for me was kind of funny because like I blow the door open and the alarm goes off and I'm like, what do? I don't know what to do. I run around, and you know how if you wait too long, sometimes the screen will turn gray and it's like that's your cue. Oh, you have to rewind time for something. I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to rewind, go back and fix this. I don't know what to do though. So I rewind time and I stop and I look around. I'm like, where am I? Oh, I'm inside the office. I didn't realize that since I was still standing in the office, that I would still be there when I rewound time. So I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that, but okay. Then I just opened the door.
This actually presented you with another, I think it was another one of those options to get an optional photo where you go in the room, start gathering things, and you see Warren's test sitting on the desk, and you can change his grade.
Yeah.
I ultimately didn't, just because, she mentions, like, yeah, I wouldn't want him to get too big of a head,
Mm-hmm. I did. I changed his grade for him. I don't know why. I was like, whatever. No one's going to know.
Yeah. So, basically you and Chloe get into the office and, you end up finding this pile of money that was supposed to be used for, do you remember what it was? I thought it was like a handicap fund.
It was the handicap fund. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Did you take the money?
I left it.
I took it.
I
felt like such a horrible person later on, though, because later on, and like I think it's in the next episode, when you're back at the school, there next to one of the stairs, there's a sign that says, "Renovation for handicap ramp has been delayed due to lack of funds," or something like that. I was like, "Oh crap."
I know ultimately it still happens like that, except now you're aware that, they have the money, but they're not spending it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Chloe was upset because she wanted to take it to pay off Frank and get him off her back.
Yeah.
But I don't know if does that happen? Does that pop up again later, or
what?
The situation with Frank, does she end up paying him back with that, or is that just...
Yeah, you go back to Frank's trailer, and if you have the money, you can either choose to give it to him or choose not to.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I guess we'll get back to that one a little bit later then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like next episode or so?
I think that's in the next episode, I believe.
Right. Okay, cool. But yeah, so you head back to Chloe's place with her, and you guys are just hanging out, kind of celebrating your small, victory of raiding the school, and so it's basically Chloe just sort of again just kind of drilling home, like, man, I really hope we find Rachel, and you guys seem like you're kind of getting your friendship back on track. This kind of leads to one of those, I guess it's a controversial type of decision you can make. So basically, Max is trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm a hardcore too, and Chloe's like, yeah, well, go ahead and kiss me, and you get an option to kiss Chloe or not. I guess it depends who you're talking to. Some people kind of take it a little too far, but I ended up kissing her.
I did too.
Why not?
Yeah.
But you head downstairs, and Chloe and David get into it yet again. And it's kind of brought up that David hit her, and so these two are going at it back and forth, and the mom's involved, and she's trying to stay neutral because this is ultimately her family. She loves David,
Mm-hmm.
and Chloe is just making it very difficult for both of them to be happy. So, ultimately these two get into it, and then you're of course given a chance to pick a side. Do you remember what it was they're arguing about? I know it was when you guys left the school, the security cameras are in place,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm pretty sure that petition fails either way, but basically as you're leaving the school, Chloe's license plate is seen. So, once you get back to the house, and in the morning when you go downstairs to eat breakfast, there was actually a message on the answering machine, saying, oh, hey, we have evidence that, your daughter was at the school last night when it was broken into, and so of course that's another option where you can erase the message or leave it alone. I ended up erasing that one.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, which, it doesn't help because, he's, got contacts at the police station. So.
Yeah, he ends up finding out either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think this actually started with him confronting her about it,
Mm-hmm.
and just, just being a jerk like he usually is.
Yep.
So you're given an option to side with, David or Chloe. And at this point, David is just painted as just this crazy, paranoid nut job. So, like, why would you even bother siding with him?
Yeah.
So, I know you did as well. I ended up siding with Chloe on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And this ultimately leads to David getting kicked out, which, he's super bummed. And I did kind of feel bad, like, afterwards. And he's, you clearly see that, he's upset that, and just how his personality kind of has him act towards people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's a war vet, so he's just very disconnected from reality and just people in general.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of at this point where you learn a little tiny bit more about him, and you kind of start to understand why he is the way he is. And I don't know how you felt after that, but I was kind of like, oh man, he doesn't seem all that bad.
Yeah. There's a moment. Yeah, at the beginning of the game, you feel like David's just this jerk and like you don't really like him. But as the game progresses, as the story goes on, you kind of feel bad for him, and you're like, he's kind of an okay guy, I guess, underneath all the tough exterior that he has. But yeah, I felt a little bad that he got kicked out of his house at that point, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But I wasn't about to side with him at that moment either.
It's funny because for you at this point, like, he'd probably just lost his job.
Yeah.
So things not looking too good for him. But yeah, so from there, you decide to go to the diner to kind of try and find out more information about Amber from Frank, or Rachel Amber. So you go to the diner, and he's inside eating, and you use your powers to steal his keys from him, which I think was actually kind of funny because you go in there and you can like insult him, and
you can pour his beer on his lap, or you can take his plate of beans and dump them on the ground. None of that helps you get his keys, but it's still funny to watch.
Yeah.
He gets really upset.
But yeah, so ultimately you kind of finagle his keys out of his pocket and rewind time so that this all never happened. But you have his keys anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So you head out to his RV, and of course he has his dog. So one of the next big choices you have: what is wrong with people? So you could basically get a piece of meat to kind of distract the dog so that you guys can hop into the RV. And Bender, I'm just gonna guess that you didn't harm the dog because you're not a monster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't know what would happen. I mean, because it gives you the option: throw the meat towards the street or towards the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I threw it towards the street, and I saw what happened. I was like, no, go back. Because you throw it towards the street, and you hear a screeching sound, and the dog, I guess, you don't see it, but the dog apparently gets killed by a car, gets hit by a car, and you're like, I don't want to do that. No. So you throw it towards the parking lot, the dog is safe, and he enjoys his little treat, and you can get inside. But yeah, apparently 8% of people were okay with killing the dog.
Monsters.
and just moving on.
So, anyways, it's in here that you kind of start scoping out his camper, and you're it's at this point too you had learned that Nathan actually had some ties with Frank, and the more you start to tie together about Rachel Amber, there was a Vortex party that she had gone to, and ultimately she had disappeared after this party. So this brought you to Frank because he is apparently the drug dealer of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. So he has a little black book of all of his clients. So you guys are in there basically trying to tie Nathan to Frank so that you can not only prove that he likely drugged Kate, but also drugged Rachel Amber.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of in here, getting all this stuff, and you find out that he was maybe a little closer to Rachel Amber than you guys initially knew. Which, this upset Chloe because Chloe and Rachel had a very intimate relationship. So they were talking about getting out of Arcadia Bay together and all this. And, of course, now you find out that she's been sleeping with Frank. So Chloe gets super upset about this. And I think he comes out and you end up confronting him. Are you given an option to do anything with the money at this point?
No, it's not till the next episode.
No? Okay. So let's see where we go from here. Did you remember that homeless woman in the back of the diner?
Yeah. You have a chance to talk to her, and then
Yeah.
at one point you have a decision of whether or not you want to tell her about the vision that you had about the tornado. I ended up warning her.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you did or not.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
There was... She's actually another one of those characters that... I don't know if you dug into any of this online, but there are a lot of theories out there about who she actually is. And there's some people out there that are theorizing that she's actually Max from the future. Because when you warn her about the storm, she doesn't seem, like, phased by it.
Okay.
Did you...
I never even thought much of it. I mean, she's just a, crazy homeless lady. She seems to have seen a lot in her life. I just figured she wouldn't be phased by something crazy like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And then, I was talking to Jen, and I guess her sister, like, read a lot about this game because she doesn't really have access to anything to play it on, so...
Mm-hmm.
But she had stumbled across all these fan theories about this lady, and I think it's kind of cool that, if that is true, like, because, they're talking about continuing the series, but it's like, if that's Max from the future, like, holy crap. But, at this point, you head back to the house, or I think you head back to your room, your dorm.
Yeah, you head back to your dorm, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you end up finding this picture of you and Chloe from when you guys were kids. Mm-hmm. And somehow Max is just concentrating on that photo, and the next thing you know, she's back in the time where her and Chloe were kids.
Yeah.
That moment was crazy to me, because now this game's already kind of out there, but now all of a sudden you've teleported through a photograph back in time to your childhood.
Yeah. Yeah, this was one of the biggest twists in the story,
Yeah, so it's in this scene where you firsthand see William, who is Chloe's dad, and he's just this fun, energetic, outgoing guy, and it's clear him and Chloe have a very, very special relationship with each other, and you're just kind of like, you're back in time, but you're aware of it, and that's
mm-hmm.
the crazy part to me is she's back in time, and she's this whole time like, I'm. Oh my God! I can save him from dying, and
this is 18-year-old Max, and she's in her 13-year-old body, and she realizes that she has an opportunity to save William's life, because she knows that this is the day that he ended up getting in his car wreck and dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which ultimately, of course, his passing led to Chloe kind of becoming a rebel.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're going through this, and once Max realizes that, oh my God, I can save William, he gets a phone call from, his wife, and she needs to be picked up. So, he's running around looking for his keys. So, your whole goal here is, well, if I hide his keys, he can't leave, so ultimately the way the scene plays out is you're able to keep him home, in hopes that, okay, well now, he won't have passed away. So maybe, Chloe and Max are going to remain good friends, and she won't kind of become this rebel that she is now.
Right. So, yeah, he decides to take the bus instead of driving his car, so he doesn't end up getting in the wreck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so you're able to save his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, upon doing this, Max comes back to the present, and, she's all excited, like, William's still alive. I'm going to go visit Chloe. So once you get to the house, William answers the door, and it's very clear that yet again, Max didn't do a very good job of, keeping in touch. So, he's like, oh yeah, Chloe will be really excited to see you. And, Chloe wheels up to the door in a wheelchair. And that's the end of the episode.
That was a huge twist.
Yeah.
You saved William's life, and somehow it ends up resulting in Chloe being paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, I think she ended up getting into a car accident.
Her dad buys her a truck for her birthday or something, and then her 16th birthday, and she ends up getting in a wreck and getting paralyzed.
Yeah, so this is another one of those episodes that the ending happened. I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, we gotta keep playing. I would have been going crazy if I had to wait another 3 months to see where that went from there.
Yeah. It was a huge cliffhanger, and I was so glad I did too. I wanted to get right into the next episode when I saw that. I was like, oh my God, I have to know what happens next. it's like reading a really good book. The story in this game is so awesome. It's just like it really makes you want to keep playing and continue and learn everything that happens.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know about you, but like once I got up to the door, like as soon as he was like, "Oh, she'll be so excited you're here," and you're like, "Chloe," and then like the camera just kind of pans away. I'm like, "Oh God, she's gonna be like crippled or something." So of course she wheels up to the door. I'm just like, "Oh no!" So, of course you get into the next episode, and you're hanging out with new present day Chloe, who is crippled, and it's very apparent that this condition has really put her family in dire financial straits. They're struggling to keep a house over their heads and to pay for Chloe's meds and keep her alive basically. So again, you're sitting here having all these deep conversations with Chloe. So it's at this point you find out that Chloe doesn't know Rachel Amber at this point. They never met because Chloe's been at home crippled for the past 5 years. So you're hanging out with her, and she's really happy to see you. You guys are like having moments like you guys had when you were kids, and Chloe's, it seems like she hadn't been happy for a really long time, and she's just now starting to kind of come back around and be like, all right, this is great. And then like you're faced with another one of these just ridiculously challenging decisions to make. So Chloe's in her bed, and she goes off on this I see what I'm doing to my family. I'm just a burden. It would be a lot better if I was just gone. So she's like, look, you're my best friend. I want you to just up the morphine and let me go. So I ended up doing it. She goes, yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, Dad, this is one of those decisions I wanted to see what happened, because I ended up refusing, and I wanted I just wanted to see what happened when you actually did it, because this is one of the ones I did not go back and watch to see what the other option would have been. So what happens when you actually accept her request?
You do. She ends up. She goes. You go to her funeral, and there's a picture laying around that you go back and decide, I'm sorry. You start to get sentimental, like, I'm sorry, William. She goes back to that moment in time again where she has the opportunity to save William, and I don't know if you ended up seeing the same scene ultimately anyways, but basically Max is just like, I'm so sorry, Chloe, please don't don't hate William, don't hate me, and she's like, I don't know why I would hate you,
Yeah, so if you refuse Chloe's request, basically Max just issues a very tearful apology. He's like, I can't do that, I can't kill my best friend, I love you, I can't do that. And the same end result ends up happening. You go back to when you were 13 again, and this time you decide to let William go, and she's apologizing to. I admit I got a little choked up on that part when she was apologizing to Chloe, like, because she knew that she had to let Chloe's dad die, and it was a very emotional scene. It kind of got to me.
It's hard not to, because like once you have met William and see what he's willing to put himself through for his family, and just learn more about his character and how he is, how much he cares about Chloe. It's hard to then turn around and see Max, just super apologetic, like, I'm sorry I have to let this happen. It was tough. Do you remember where the episode went from there?
Yeah, so you get back to present day. You're able to set everything back to normal, back to the way it was. You end up going back to the dorms, but this time you're going to explore the boys' dorms, because you want to check out Nathan's room and see if you can find any evidence in his room. And yeah, after you explore Nathan's room and you come back out, I mean, you encounter Nathan, and Warren is there as well, and Warren ends up jumping on Nathan and just starts beating the crap out of him. And you are given the option to either let it happen or stop him. I don't know, what did you decide to do?
I just let him go at it.
I did too.
Like
I was like, let him. And you know, Nathan's like sobbing and like he's in the fetal position, just crying, and and Warren's just going off.
I think he actually had pulled a gun on you initially, and that's when Warren was just like, no, you know what, no, and just went to town on him.
Yeah.
That was the only time I was like, yeah, get him, Warren, get him. But right. So I think you ended up finding proof that Frank and Nathan were indeed linked. So
yes, yeah.
So you then head to the beach where Frank has an RV, and basically you confront him, and you're basically just trying to get him to understand that, hey, we know that you and Rachel Amber had this relationship. We're getting close to finding out what happened to her. We think Nathan, is behind whatever happened to her, and so he basically gives you this address, I think, or he gives you a book.
No, what he gives you is a paper that he has so you can decode the names of his clients, because you already have the book that from the first time you went into his RV. Mm-hmm. You've got his book with his clients, but he had code names for each of them.
Okay.
So he gives you the list that to decode the client names.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of different ways this confrontation can play out. The first time I went through this conversation, Chloe had the gun that Nathan had pulled on her,
mm-hmm.
which, if you stopped Warren, she didn't have the gun, but if you let Warren beat up Nathan, she does grab the gun. So she had the gun. Then at one point, Frank's dog runs out of the trailer, and it startles Chloe. She shoots the dog, mm-hmm. and then Frank goes towards her. He's upset that she shot the dog, and then she ended up killing him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way it can work out. So I was like, oh, I don't want that to happen. That's bad.
Yeah.
So I've rewound, and I changed up the way. At one point, you can tell him to close the door because you're afraid the dog's going to get out, so he does. So the dog doesn't get out. Mm. And remember that all of this is dependent on whether or not you killed the dog earlier in the game. So that's another way that these choices can have effects later on in the game.
The 8% of you.
Yeah, exactly. Horrible people.
Mm-hmm.
No, but the way it ended up for me was Chloe ended up shooting him in the leg instead of killing him.
Oh.
So apparently there's a way for you to do it without anyone getting hurt, which I didn't figure out. I didn't go back and try it again or anything.
I did that. Didn't hurt anybody. Yeah.
That's good.
I think just going into it, there's something you can say to Chloe, like,
mm-hmm.
Like just don't do anything stupid or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I remember that part. I don't remember what I said to her, but apparently it was the wrong thing because she ends up shooting him in the leg.
But so from there, you kind of find out about this weird underground. Well, you're taken to a barn. It's basically this old property that the Prescott family owns. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of navigating your way around this barn, and you find this underground component to it. So, basically, they then go down into this underground bunker underneath the barn. And, down there they find all these weird binders of all these different students that have been, seemingly tortured. And, they got all these weird pictures taken of them. And, you have all this expensive camera equipment down there. And so while they're searching, they actually find a binder that's, got Rachel Amber's name on it. And there's a couple pictures in there, but... one of the pictures that stands out to them is one of her laying next to Nathan. And, Chloe recognizes in the picture, like, oh, that's at the junkyard. I know where this is. And, while you're kind of in there exploring, you also find an empty Victoria Chase binder. Mm-hmm. So, it's, you then are under the impression that obviously she's going to be the next target. So, but once Chloe recognizes that you guys rush out of there, head back up to the junkyard where you were, where you had first encountered Frank, and you guys kind of scout out the area and end up finding, what you would presume is Rachel Amber's body. So, Chloe, of course, loses it, and this is another one of those scenes that's just like, I was kind of, just like finally finding her, and then just Chloe being so devastated. I was like, man, she can't catch a break, Yeah. So... knowing that Victoria is next, you head up to the Vortex Club party to, not only try to track down Nathan, but, you're hoping to kind of bump into Victoria and give her a heads up that, hey, you're in danger. So it's at this party that Victoria is of course announced the winner of the Everyday Heroes contest. So she's kind of in her moment of glory, and you bump into her, and you're given the opportunity to warn her. I don't know. Did you try to give her a heads up?
Yeah, I tried to warn her, but she did not believe me, probably because I was so mean to her earlier.
Me too. Which you figure I would have just stuck with the why bother warning her at this point. Whatever. But
yeah.
So you try to warn her, and in our case she didn't believe either of us. So she accepts her award and continues to ignore you. You can't find Nathan, so you guys are leaving the party. And then you get a text from Nathan's phone, like basically luring you back to where you found Rachel Amber's body. Right?
Yeah. He says something like, they'll never find the body now, or they'll never find the evidence, or something like that.
Right.
So Max and Chloe rush back to the junkyard to stop him from hiding the evidence and everything.
All right, so you get back up there, and Rachel Amber's remains are still there, and then just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, someone drugs Max, so she falls over. Her powers, she can't concentrate, and Chloe gets shot
Right in the head.
right in the face.
Shot dead. And
So
then just before, I'll let you say it.
no, go ahead. It's you.
And then, so this was one of the biggest twists in the whole game. So just before Max passes out, she looks up, and it's Mr. Jefferson who killed Chloe and drugged her.
This is the
End
of
of
this-
episode 4.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my god. Yeah.
I did look. I don't know about you, but like I saw that and I was just like, "Are you kidding me? What? No, he's like the only character in this game that's not a jerk."
He was the last one you'd suspect, and
Yeah.
it was very unexpected.
Again, waiting months on it after that ending, it's like, you're kidding me. I can't do it. But so you get into the beginning of episode 5, and this episode for me was really just kind of all over the place. This was just an episode that just so many different timelines were clashing, and just like all these different personalities are coming out that you didn't expect to kind of have to deal with. But the episode starts with Mr. Jefferson just kind of starting to explain to you why he does all this stuff. Like, it's that moment of fear, or that moment of losing your innocence that that's what I'm trying to capture. So you basically find out that this is his whole new project, and he's probably been doing this for years.
Yeah. And he's super creepy about it.
He is. He's just all of a sudden, like, this dude that you thought was the most down-to-earth guy there is just incredibly detached from reality.
Mr. Jefferson, why are you doing this?
Oh, Max. I'm so glad you asked that question. Simply put, I'm obsessed with the idea of capturing that moment innocence evolves into corruption. That shift from black to white to gray and beyond. Most models are cynical. They lose that naivete. However, some Blackwell students carry their hope and optimism with them like an aura. And those lucky few become my models.
He's screaming at you and, while calmly talking to you, then all of a sudden it's just like, stay down! It's like, what the, oh my god. So, he then kind of starts explaining, oh yeah, I'm sure, you thought, it was Nathan. So then he kind of gets into details about how, I've kind of I took him under my wing and kind of had like a protege. Yeah, so you basically find out that, Rachel Amber wasn't necessarily, his doing. It was Nathan who ended up ultimately drugging and killing Rachel Amber. And Mr. Jefferson ended up, being like, well, he messed up, so I had to take care of him. So, you then find out that, Mr. Jefferson at, the time of you leaving that party had already taken care of Nathan. He was the one texting you from the phone. And, so ultimately you're just in this chair and, you're trying to figure out a way to kind of get yourself out of it. And, you kind of teleport back through a couple pictures and, you basically go back to the beginning of the game yet again. So you're in class, and your first thought is, I can find David's crazy. I can finally use that and kind of let him know. So you have to kind of go through and get his contact information, and figure out a way to get a hold of him and kind of tip him off. So then you're brought back to your current situation where you're underground, you're tied up, and David sneaks in behind you, and him and Mr. Jefferson then proceed to fight, and it's at this point where you're kind of able to get away. So for you, these two fight, and it comes to a point where David is able to kill Mr. Jefferson. This being after he finds out that Chloe's gone. So,
if you tell him,
yeah,
because you have the choice to not tell him, which this is one of the ones that I rewound and did again, because I told him that Chloe had died, and then he kills Mr. Jefferson. I was like, you know what? Even though I know I'm about to go and change change this present, I don't want David to have to be a murderer, so I'm gonna rewind and not tell him.
I didn't rewind. He killed him, and that was it. But so at this point in the story, this storm that you foresaw in the first episode is hitting the town, and so once you escape from the dark room, you head in the car, and it's at this is another one of those moments in the game where I didn't see this coming, but you steal Mr. Jefferson's car to you're getting back into town, and you're basically, I don't remember if you were looking for Chloe, if you're looking for a way to go back and save Chloe. I think you're looking for a way to go back to the Vortex party and kind of warn Chloe so that she doesn't die yet again. But yeah, because Mr. Jefferson had destroyed all of the photos.
So the only photo you have left to be able to go back and save Chloe is one that Warren has, and he's at the diner, trying to weather out the storm.
That's
so
right.
You have to get over there to the diner to talk to him and get that photo from him.
That's right. So you're heading to the diner in this storm, and you realize that you have a message on your phone from Nathan, and this is like the most rational he's spoken to you the entire game, but basically he had to have called you while you were heading up to the junkyard, and I don't know if you just didn't hear it or what happened, but this voicemail is basically him, I killed Rachel Amber, I'm sorry, and Mr. Jefferson is he's using me for this and that, and I'm afraid he's coming for Victoria. I think he's coming for you guys. By the time you hear this, he may have already killed me. And you remember this part?
Yeah.
So for me, that was just really surreal hearing that, because it's like the first time he appears aware of what's happening around him, because throughout the game he's just this neurotic, super on edge dude, walking around with a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was just such a strange moment for me. I don't know if you...
Yeah, it was for me too, because he's already dead, and you hear this message from him, and he's actually apologizing to you and everything. It's like, wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, this game's really good at that.
Yeah, it's definitely some intense emotional moments in the game.
So once you get into town, to get to the diner, the storm has just destroyed almost everything around you. So on your way to the diner, there's, I think, 4 or 5 people that are in a dire situation that you can choose to save them, on your way to the diner. So there was a trucker that you had met earlier on who, he was another one of those photo op moments where if you start talking to him about, his truck, you can take a picture of it. So I don't remember a lot of the situations they were in. I remember there was one guy that was in a room, that there's he was sitting in a puddle, and if you had turned on the lights to proceed through there, it would electrocute him.
Yeah.
I
saw that.
So I remember having to navigate through. I don't remember if that was him. I think that might have been the trucker. The
trucker was stuck under a beam or something that you had to help him lift up so he could get out.
Okay, maybe it was the fisherman.
He was in the street. Might have been the fisherman, yeah.
I just remember Evan, who's another photographer. A light pole could fall on him and bonk him in the head. Are you kidding me? All the ways you could go out. And then there's another girl that you kind of become the guardian angel of throughout the game if you want to. I don't
Yeah.
know if you had saved Alyssa very much, but there are a lot of instances throughout the game where like a ball could bounce up and hit her in the face, or someone could push her in a pool, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And basically, you can stop these things from happening to her, give her a heads up. But like she's trapped up on the second floor of some building that I think if you don't save her, the building just collapses.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I actually didn't find her, so I didn't actually even realize you could save her. So
Oh,
I saw my results. I was like, you didn't save Alyssa? What?
Mhm.
I didn't know I could.
Yeah. She was another one. She was off to the side. So once I saw her, I kind of figured out what would have happened to her if you missed her.
Mhm.
But she's a pain because you have to like build a little makeshift bridge for her to cross and get down.
Oh.
She's super easy to miss. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, next from there was the fisherman who's sitting in this room that's just covered in water, and there's electrical current that could kill him.
Yeah.
So once you navigate through all this, and one of the challenging parts for me was figuring out how to stop, because once you get to the diner, there's a trail of gasoline from a tanker that had been knocked over in front of the diner,
Mhm.
and so something catches on fire, and you just see this line of fire heading to the diner, and if you don't get there in time, it explodes.
Yeah.
So you're tasked with finding a way to stop, this fire from getting to the diner. And I actually got stuck at this part, because there's a pile of sand somewhere that you end up shoveling on it to stop it. But
Yeah. That took me a while to find that as well. I kept rewinding it over and over again. I was like, what am I supposed to do?
yeah. But ultimately you get in the diner, and you get a chance to talk to Joyce about David, and she feels bad about kicking him out, and at this point he had saved my life, and I felt bad about kicking him out. So you're given the option to kind of you should give him a second chance.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're in the 36%, so 64% we're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you also encounter Frank again in there, so you're kind of given the option to let him know what happened to Rachel.
Yeah.
You did that?
I did that. Yeah, I told him the truth, and he ends up, accepting it eventually, but he decides that you're not such a bad person after all. Of course, this is all based on whether or not you got him killed earlier in the game.
Yeah, that's true too. Then you finally make it up to Warren, and you're talking to him. You just need this picture, and he seems pretty concerned about what's going on. So you can give him a kiss, you can hug him, or you can just continue friend zoning him, which is what I did. I just made sure Warren knew that, bro, stay away.
I ended up kissing him. My Max is just kissing everybody, apparently. I don't know why.
But so yeah, this photo you kind of get a chance to go back in time. But at this point, this is where the game got really crazy. At this point, you've just messed with so many different timelines that just all these different Max and Chloe's, all these different timelines that you've messed with have start to collide, and you start going back through all these key moments in the story, but they're just really twisted. Do you remember a lot of these? I know there was one where you're down in the dark room, and you're tied up, and Chloe and Victoria are on the couch, and they're making funny like, yeah, Max thinks she's a good kisser, ha ha ha.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff Max is like tied up in the chair in the dark room, and she just sees different people in her life that show up, and it's just these very disturbing things. Like like Chloe and Victoria making out, and like I forget what else there was, but
I know that took you back to the diner, and she's just basically sitting there degrading Max. Like calling you out, like, you messed up this timeline, what makes you think you're gonna get this one right? Like, I think one of the Maxes in the timeline starts talking to you,
right,
and just telling you what a screw up you are. And I know one of the other strange ones was there's a snow globe that was in the living room at the house. So you kind of go back to a point where William was still there, but now you're in a snow globe.
Yeah.
And just like this whole episode just got really weird with this stuff. So
yeah, so there's there's this really long, drawn-out nightmare sequence that has several different parts, and some of it I kind of liked, but a lot of it I thought was just too much. Like, it was too... It really I felt like the story just came to a grinding halt during this whole nightmare thing. Like, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I think the first one starts out with this, like, sneaking part where you're in this area with, like, these people with flashlights, and you have to, like, sneak around and avoid them, catching you with the flashlight. So there's, like, Mr. Jefferson, like, every character in the game, basically, like Mr. Jefferson and Warren and Samuel, the janitor, and Nathan Prescott. All these people are walking around with flashlights, and you have to avoid all of them as you sneak through and find, like, 5 more bottles.
Yep.
To get through the end of this nightmare sequence.
Yeah, it was a pain.
Yeah.
So once you get through there, I think that brought you back to reality, where you're standing up by the lighthouse where you had your original vision of all this with Chloe. Chloe's there with you now, and you kind of come. Is this pretty much the climax of the story where you Chloe realizes that, look, this is all happening because I'm still alive. So then the game presents you, and I understand a lot of people are kind of upset with this because you ultimately think that your decisions throughout the story didn't matter, but you're presented with 2 options. You can either choose to sacrifice Chloe, or sacrifice Arcadia Bay, basically.
So as this tornado is bearing down on the town, you realize that if you were to go back and let Chloe die, then all of these things, this chain of events would never have been set into motion. So because the tornado is just a result, because there's first there's an eclipse, and then there's snow, and then an eclipse, and then all the birds are dying, and then the tornado. So there's all things that started when Max first reversed time. So you realize that all of these were just a chain of events set off by you saving Chloe. So you can either go back and let Chloe die and save the town, or you can let the tornado destroy the town and you just get to stay with Chloe. So, yeah.
I want to talk about that ending first, because I know we both ultimately ended up doing the same thing. But the option that you can sacrifice Arcadia Bay, and ultimately the tornado will come through and destroy everything. A lot of your friends die. I think pretty much everybody dies except for you and Chloe, it seems. But that brings you to an ending where Max and Chloe they leave Arcadia Bay together, and I think that was the end of that. That was all they had with that ending.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. They just shows them driving through the town, looking at all the destruction. Then they just keep driving, and then that's pretty much it. They're together, and they just leave.
And then the ending that we chose, and Chloe really kind of pushes you towards this decision. She gives you this very emotional kind of prep talk, like, look, this is all happening because of me. I'm tired of, being, a burden on everybody. No matter what happens, it can't take away these memories from me. We went through all this together, and that's how, I would want you to remember me and stuff. So it was this very touching, speech that she gives you. And, so, going back in time and letting it all happen, that really got to me,
Yeah. It was a very tough decision, but in the end, even though it was difficult to watch Chloe die and to watch the resulting effects, I felt like it was the best ending. I felt like it was the most beautiful and poetic ending, and I felt like it was appropriate. And during that funeral scene at the end of the game, after you let her die, I was bawling. It got to me. I was like, man, this is... And it was very sad, but it felt like the perfect ending to me. I mean, other people may disagree. Maybe other people prefer the tornado ending, but I was like, no, this is really the only way the story should end.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of understand a lot of people seeing that, and then this ultimately becoming a game of, okay, so none of this actually really happened, But at the grand scheme of things, in Max's life, all of this stuff did happen. These are memories that she's now living with. She basically had all these different events that she went through with her best friend that, these are things that are probably going to be a psychological factor in her in the future, you went through all this stuff with you and ultimately end up losing your best friend several times, in some cases, but
yeah.
that for me, like that ending just it was rough to watch. And you have the butterfly, of course, coming and landing on the casket at the end.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just it was one of those games that really came out of nowhere and just kind of caught me off guard. And I remember once I got through it, Jen had actually played through it with me. I think her sister was here too, but it was one of those times where we finished this game and we're just like, this game was really awesome. Like, sure, I mean, ultimately, the end result could be rather sad, but it's one of those games that's kind of like season 1 of The Walking Dead, where it just kind of tugs at your emotions throughout. It ultimately establishes a world full of all these really cool characters that you spend all this time getting to know, and anytime something happens to them, like, you feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a testament to how good the writing was in this game and how good the voice acting was in this game. Because, there's not very many games that come along that get you so involved with the characters that you actually feel a sense of loss when one of them dies. And, and it actually makes you feel things. You get so invested that, there's not a whole bunch of games that I've cried while watching the story or playing. But this game really got to me, especially in the ending. I was just like, yeah, I love this game. It was so great. I thought the writing was great. Everything about it was awesome, except for a little bit with that nightmare sequence.
Yeah,
dragged on a little bit, but that's a minor thing among so many other great qualities that this game has.
Yeah. And it was the same with me. That nightmare scene definitely drug on a lot longer than it needed to. And it also just kind of felt out of place, just in comparison to everything that happened. Like, I understand, their ultimate goal with it was to show, like, you're messing with the fabric of time. This is what you're doing. But, I feel like maybe 2 or 3 of those sequences were all they needed, but it did drag on.
Yeah, I liked the one where you're back in the school and you're walking through the hallway and the music is playing backwards.
Oh,
and
that's
you hear
right.
all the people around you are talking in reverse.
Yep.
And if you hold down the reverse time button, the music will play in normal. And you can hear the people talking normal, then you let off of it and it's going backwards again. With that nightmare sequence, what I envisioned with the development team was like a bunch of people sitting around a table and be like, okay, what ideas does everyone have for this nightmare sequence? And then, okay, you, let's put it all in there. Like a bunch of people pitch these different ideas for cool things that they could do, and they're like, let's do all of it. Okay, we're going to do the sequence where you're stuck in a bathroom and there's a code that you have to get out of the bathroom and there's numbers all over the wall and you have to figure out which number is the right number. Okay, we'll do that. There's a sequence where everyone's in the diner and they're all frozen and you come in and talk to yourself and you have a conversation with yourself. We'll do that. There's a sequence where you're walking through this sidewalk and amidst this black void, and you're seeing all the scenes through the entire game that are in these frozen dioramas that you see. I'm like, that part especially, I was like, I don't need to see the entire game again. I just played this. I don't need to see every scene in the game again.
Yeah.
So that part was like, oh, this is really dragging on here.
Yeah, and you can only move at like her default walking speed, so it probably took a good 10 minutes to just walk through that alone.
Yeah, at first I was like looking at every little scene and like examining them and listening to all the audio dialogue that would queue up when you walked by one. But by the end I was just walking. I'm like, forget it. I'm not listening to this. I'm not looking at them. I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah. Another one that was really weird in there for me was there's this scene where you're going through the hallway and it changes who you are.
Yes. Oh, that was annoying because you're Max, and then you change into the Rachel Amber clothes, and you have to figure out the right door to go into, and then you're Victoria. That part was pretty annoying too.
Yeah, that did have like the funniest photo op moment though, because if you went up to the window, there's a giant squirrel outside.
Yes, that was pretty fun. That kind of freaked me out at first. I was like, what is that? Oh, giant squirrels outside. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But just like I think once you got towards the end of that scene, you encounter Kate, and you had saved her, so she's questioning like, why did you let me live? Why didn't you just let me jump? And then like her room door opens and she it's this giant open air and she just jumps in and it was like this whole scene just played out way too long. Like all these ideas are kind of cool on their own, but then like you said, it does seem like they just everyone had an idea and they just incorporated as much as they could in there.
Yeah.
So for me that kind of threw a wrench in just the flow of the story. 'Cause just like at that point, like, okay, this has gone on way too long. Can we move on here?
Yeah. But that was the only thing about the game. I mean, the pacing for everything else was so good. The storytelling was so good. All the decisions in the game are posed in such a way that you don't know the right decision. Like there's decisions in this game where both seem correct, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know how this is going to affect me later on. So I'm just going to have to make a decision that seems right for this moment, and just see what happens. And as you just go through, you become more and more okay with that, and you accept that as you like, well, I'm just going to have to make a decision because I have no idea how it's going to affect the story later on. So yeah, that's one thing I really appreciate about the game too.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand that ultimately at the end of the game you're left with two decisions, but every single thing that happened in between the beginning and the end of this game, all these relationships with like Kate and David, like all of these things you could influence as you're going. So, all these interactions with these people felt like they would have some kind of impact on their character throughout the game. And they ultimately did, because no matter how you look at it, all of this stuff happened. So,
yeah,
even with Chloe gone, you understand like Kate's probably going through this struggle right now. You probably feel like better equipped to kind of like have Max see like things around her differently. Like, Kate's probably going through this. I need to be a better friend to her, and you would ultimately hope that, from this Max learns to be a better friend, because that's kind of what drew, Chloe into this life anyways, is because Max kind of moved on without her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't, I'd be interested to see what they do with another season. I know there's been talk of it happening. Like, I don't know, like, where you would go from here, though, Like, do you have anything you would like to see them do?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing them just tackling a completely different story. I mean, the development team obviously is talented, and they're great at storytelling. I don't think they need to touch this story again at all. I feel like there was good closure with the story of Max, and I don't know. I don't think they necessarily need to do anything else with these particular characters, but I wouldn't mind seeing them tackling a different type of story. I mean, because they're obviously a talented team and great storytellers.
Would you like be upset if they kind of use the same universe, same like setting, and just like chose a different student to do something with? Like, if they went and decided to do a story with like Warren?
No, I wouldn't be upset about that. I mean, I'm sure they could make it work either way. I mean, I don't think you would want to play as Warren.
No. No, you have to try really hard to make him seem appealing to me.
He didn't bother me as much as he did you. I thought he was okay.
He's trying too hard.
No, that's true.
But yeah. So, do you have any other closing thoughts on this?
No, just that anyone who hasn't played the game definitely needs to go play it. I don't know why you would be listening to this entire thing if you haven't played the game, but it is an awesome game. Even if we just spoiled everything for you, still go check it out. It's a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, I know we touched on a lot of the main story beats, but it's still worth experiencing on your own, just because a lot of these characters are very unique. There's some characters in here that we didn't even really talk about that are kind of interesting on their own.
Yeah, like Samuel.
Yeah. But
he's an interesting fellow.
Interesting is a good word for it. But even just experiencing all these different personalities on your own, is in itself really like worth coming to this game for. The only thing is there is some kind of cheesy dialogue, but it's whatever. It doesn't bother me. I thought it was funny more often than not. So, but yeah, I look forward to seeing what they would do with the second season of this. I do hope that like you, that whatever happens with Max here, like that's it. Like, you don't revisit Max's life from here. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing her as another character in another someone else's timeline. And maybe seeing like the effects that this maybe it had on her after that. But ultimately I think what you've done with Max Caulfield stays in season 1 of this game. So
yeah,
I think that's gonna do it for us, though. I mean, this seems like it's been pretty lengthy, so
yeah, it's a good discussion for sure.
Yeah, I'm just glad that I finally have someone else to talk about this with, because I finished this game and I immediately wanted to hop in the group chat and guys, so what did you do here? Like, could you believe this happened? And yeah, it was hard not to. So,
Well, yeah, I'm sorry it took me so long, but I'm glad I finished it because yeah, I know exactly how you feel. As soon as I finished this game, I was like, I have to talk about this with someone.
Yeah.
We have to do a spoiler cast.
Yeah, which I'm glad this came too, because I had another smaller idea for this, but this game it's hard to talk about it and not start touching on all these different things that really happen throughout it. It really is one of those special games that you play and you need to talk about. So
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed this though. Hopefully we'll be back some other time talking about some other game. Who knows?
Yeah.
So Bender, thank you for taking some time to sit down and talk about this.
Absolutely, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at The Short Pause. Hopefully, as you are listening to this on SoundCloud, maybe iTunes, we do have a podcast, The Short Pause Gaming Podcast. So give that a spin if you want to. I recommend it. It's a great show. Not biased or anything. But if not, check out our website, www.shortpause.com. We have a lot of cool things up on the site there. We get reviews, editorials. We got some top 10 lists up there right now. For Bender Holt, I am Frankie Ailor, and we'll catch you guys later.
See you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
American girls like tall